Hey, how you doing? This is Tom, and this is Tom's Radio Room Show, and I have to apologize. I could not find my aftermarket antennas for the Bofang radios. I found a couple, but I should have a whole bunch more, and I wasn't able to find them. This one actually is for this radio. And I did do a test of this one in a previous video, and you saw with this radio it wasn't too good. But we're going to put it back on the table and test it some more. And I got some requests to do some additional testing on different frequencies and with different antennas. Now I did find this antenna, which is a knockoff of the NAGOYA antenna, the NA771, which typically is a good antenna for these dual band handheld radios. But this one is a knockoff, and I did a show on this to show you how to determine whether it's an original or not. This is not an original, so that is probably why it was in my box with my scanner radios instead of wherever the other radios are that are good radios for, good antennas for these radios. I went back to one of my old shows where I did a field test of about 4 antennas, and it showed me what I was looking for. Matter of fact, one of them, which was from MFJ, was really long, so consequently that antenna would not fit in a shoebox. So that gave me some hint of where the antennas might be. I looked at, there was 3 places they should have been, and they weren't there. I looked at hundreds of other places and have not been able to find them. I'm sorry I couldn't find them. But anyway, we're going to proceed ahead. I didn't want to delay this too long. So what we're going to do, we're testing this Supercom SW-33 SWR power meter that is kind of made for these types of radio with an SMA connector or something similar to that, where you can plug it in line with the antenna, the short whip antenna. So we're going to do some more testing here. I've charged this radio and this radio. So these 2 radios should be identical. One is the UV5R, which is the original Bofang radio that was such a hit, and the prices are down to like less than $30 for these now. Dual band, wideband receive. This is a one that came out later, which is UV-5R5. It's basically the same radio, but it's supposed to put out a little more power. It's supposed to put out 6 watts versus 5 watts, which we know this one, mine, does not put out 5 watts. And I've tested it with multiple meters. Now, one thing I did want to do, one of the requests was to check this meter against another meter that I tested. Once again, I couldn't find that one either. So we're going to go ahead. All right. So we're going to start with a baseline here of this radio, which is the UV5R, and its stock antenna. We've already did that test. We're going to do it again, kind of establish a new baseline here. So we're going to take this antenna off, and then we're going to plug in this meter. It screws directly in, so you have to be a little careful you don't break anything, because it does provide kind of a heavy weight there. So you carefully screw it in place. Don't tighten it too hard. To break something on the radio. Hopefully it will come up. Okay, I tightened it kind of stuck, but I got it in line, so that's good. We'll turn the meter on. Push and hold for a couple seconds. Okay, now the meter is on and it's measuring SWR. We need the we need this little adapter here that comes with it, comes with 4 adapters and a dummy load. This is the dummy load. So we're going to use the antenna for this first test. Again, I did this test in a previous show, and I'm going to get a piece of paper so I can write some stuff down because my memory is not so good. So I'm going to call this the UV5R, and this is with the stock antenna that comes with it. And we'll get a write SWR and power. Alright, so we're going to turn this on. And I previously tested it at 443.05. So the request was to test it at in the 2 meter band. So I'm going to select a frequency, a station, a channel. Trying to get out of that band down to the there's 145.23. Well, that's probably not a good one. There, 145.33. That's not used very much. All right, here we go. Oh, I didn't hook up the antenna. Stock antenna. Oops. Get it snug, but don't over tighten. Alrighty, here we go. Get that in view of the camera and get my finger on the push to talk. KE4 GSK testing. KE4 GSK. Okay, that's 106, and that's SWR. Wow, that's pretty good. 106. 106. Hey, boy. That's too good to be true. Seemed like I didn't get that results before. That's why I'm repeating it. Alrighty. So now we're going to switch the meter to power. Can't see what I'm doing. There we go. Okay, now it's going to measure power. And we get it in the camera. And push to talk. KE4 GSK testing. KE4 GSK testing. 5.8. These readings are not what I got before. Maybe it's because when I tested it before, it wasn't fully charged. It was probably 3/4 charged, but it wasn't fully charged. Anyway, 5.8. And now we're going to take this antenna off. And we're going to put it aside, and we're going to put this really, well, not really long, it's probably 24 inches antenna. Again, it's a knockoff. When I did the field testing, it didn't do very good, which wasn't surprising since it was a knockoff from China. Okay, it's now set up, and again, oh, I know why. What the variable is we're now on a lower band. That's interesting. At 443, these numbers weren't very good, so I'm going to go back and do the 443 again so that I got that data taken at this time. All right? Okay. This might take a while. Okay, we got the antenna hooked up nice and neat. We're on power. Here we go. Let me get to in view. KE4 GSK. KE4 GSK testing. 4.8. Now, I did get 5.8 before, didn't I? Boy, okay. 4.8, and this is on, I'm going to call it knockoff antenna. I wish I could have found my other antennas. I'm really bummed out that I don't know where those antennas are. Anyway, that was power. Now we'll go down to SWR. And here we go again. I think I bumped the channel. How did I do that? I go back down. I think I bumped the channel. Oh, I know what. I went into frequency mode. Okay. How did I do that? Oh, this button. I hit this button by mistake. There we go. Now we're back. Whew. All right, here we go. SWR. Let me get the glare off the meter. KE4 GSK, KE4 GSK, 1.81. Again, that doesn't surprise me. This knockoff antenna is not that good. But it wasn't too bad. Anything below, I want to say 3, but you really want 2. Anything below SWR 3 is okay. Not great, okay. So that was the UV5R. And before we switch to another radio, I'm going to change the frequency now back to something up at 70 centimeters. There's a bunch of them up here. Well, it'd be easier to punch it in. Okay, there's 436. I don't remember what we had before, but it was in that band. And now we're going to try it again in the 70 centimeter band, and we're going to hit this. KE4 GSK testing, KE4 GSK testing. 4.6 SWR. Okay, so this is a knockoff, and these two, you can't see my pad, these two were 2 meters, and this is 70 centimeters, and this was the knockoff. Oh, my nose itches. And what was the number? I forgot already. And this is SWR. Let's try it again. KE4 GSK, KE4 GSK. 5.1. SWR 5.1. Okay, we're back up to bad. And the power at a higher frequency, KE4 GSK, KE4 GSK, 3.9. So there is kind of what we saw before when we were testing up at the 70 centimeter band. Kind of numbers we saw before. High SWR, low power output. Now, shall we go back before we change the radios to the stock antenna? And this should give me readings similar to what I had in the previous show, which I have no idea what those readings were, but I remember at this band it wasn't fantastic. I think it was close to 2.5 or something for power. Okay, we are on power, and we're at 436.8 megahertz. So here we go. KE4 GSK, KE4 GSK. 3.9. Again, 3.9. This is with the stock antenna. And we are going to try SWR. This meter is, if nothing else, it's very convenient. KE4 GSK, KE4 GSK. Testing. 2.7. A little better. On the stock antenna. 2.7. I think it was up near there, or maybe, I think it was just under 3 before when I did the test in the previous show. Okay, we're done with this radio. Turn it off. I'm going to unplug this thing. Now, there's a million combinations here, and I'm not going to do any of them. I mean, I'm not going to do all of them. Like I could use the antenna from this radio on this radio, which I did in the previous video, and the antenna was almost identical, which it should be. Okay, now we're going to take this radio. Now, this one is supposed to have a little more power out as advertised. And we'll screw this in. Carefully screw this in. Okay, here we go. Don't want to break it. As I've gotten older, oh shoot. It maxed out at being backwards. Okay, so it's backwards, so I'm going to have to do the radio backwards so you can see the indication. Okay, this is the antenna from the other, this is the antenna from the other radio, which like I said before, they measured about the same thing in the previous show. So I'm going to leave that one on. So I'm on SWR, And turn this radio on and see what band it's in. 156. Oh, that's FR. That's the FRS channel. We don't want that one particularly. Let me see what we get out of here. GMRS. I've got these things full of channels. There's marine channels. Don't want to broadcast in the marine channels just for exception. All right, here we go. Simplex, Clearwater. Okay, here we go. Oops, that's not a good one either. Oh, I know why. The one thing that can fool you about this radio is it has two displays, but they're not synchronized. So I am now on the bottom. Let's go back on the bottom display. So I'm on the bottom display. No, I take that back. I'm on the. I'm not sure what I'm on. Let me see. I got this one really. Trying to see what it doesn't show. Oh, what am I doing, Tom? What am I doing? Okay, here we go. I'm on top display, and it's H Clearwater. That's the Honeywell Clearwater repeater that I used in a previous show on this radio. So this is 443.05. That's where this is. Now, now I have to turn the radio over so that I can, well, kind of over, so I can see the display. This is SWR and I'm broadcasting on 70 centimeters. KE4 GSK, KE4 GSK. Okay, about 3.7. 3.7. Now, different radio. This is the UV5R5, and that's SWR, and that's SWR on 70 centimeters. Stock antenna. SWR is 3.7. That is pretty bad. That's with the stock antenna. Excuse me. The stock antenna for this radio. Now, for grins, like I say, there's many tests we can do here. I'm going to take this one off, put it over by the radio it came with, and put the antenna that came with this radio on the tester. Tighten things down, and we'll test it again. See if it's any different. Based on the previous testing I did, it should be about the same. So here we go. Oops, wrong. Got to find where the button is. It's upside down, so I don't know where the button is. Okay, here we go. KE4 GSK, KE4 GSK. 2.6, 2.7. Now I wrote down 3.7. Is that what I had? I'm gonna put down 2.7, and this is really the stock antenna for this radio, and this is the stock antenna for the 5R, UV5R. Well, I'm going to test that again. KE4 GSK testing, and we're going to turn over here and make for sure we still have Clearwater. Yep, we do. Let me try something offline here. Okay, so that was a big difference, and I didn't notice that difference yesterday. I'm going to go back. I'm sorry. I hope I don't confuse you. I'm going to go back to this antenna, and watch me get them confused. But the antenna for this radio over here. I may have to go back to this video and make some correction. Whoops. The things I do for you guys. Shoot. Okay, I'm going to make sure everything's tight. Yeah, it's tight. Okay, we're going to try it again. This is with the antenna from this radio, which I did a few minutes ago. And I got 3.7. Here we go. KE4 GSK, KE4 GSK. I got 2.9. What did I do differently? Was it not tied down tight? Maybe the connection was loose. I could be. I'm going to strike out the 3.7 and change it to 2.8. So now they're back similar, which is what they were in the previous video. Maybe I didn't have it tight. All right, we're gonna, and again, this is at 70 centimeters in that band. I'm gonna change this to power. It's on power now. I'm gonna key it up. KE4 GSK testing, KE4 GSK testing, 6.1. And this is the antenna from this radio. 6.1, 6 is the advertised power out. So that's pretty good. That's right on the advertised power out, where this one, depending on the band, ran a little different. I'm going to go over these results when I get done here, if I ever get done. Okay, now let's try a different band. So let's find a different repeater that's in 70 centimeters. Okay, there's St. Pete. That should be in, in 2 meters. We're going to try that. KE4 GSK testing, KE4 GSK testing, 6.1. And this is 2 meters. This is the stock antenna for this radio. I may have misspoken before. This is the... I'm confused. We're going to assume that these two antennas are the same because I've got confused. I knew that would happen. I'd get confused on which antenna because they're not marked. They look identical. I'm going to assume from the previous show that these antenna perform the same. The two antennas. Oh my gosh. Okay, now what did I get? I don't know what I got for reading. Gee whiz. What do you expect from an old man? Okay, I'm going to take the reading again. This is power. I think I had 4.5 before. Here we go. KE4 GSK, KE4 GSK. No, I had 6.1. Okay, we had 6.1. Oh, I've changed the band now. So, have I confused you yet? I've sure confused myself. I got 6.1, and now it's in the 2 meter band with the antenna that I believe is from this radio. I think. No, it's probably from this radio. Yeah, it's probably from this radio. Whew. Help me out here, people. Oh, golly. Okay. Change it to SWR. Here we go. KE4 GSK testing, KE4 GSK 3.7. That sounds familiar to what I had on the 70 centimeter band at one time. And I'll go back over these. So I'm going to test it again. KE4 GSK 2. Now that's interesting. It was 2.9 while I was transmitting, and then it went up to 3.8 when I let off. Maybe I've got a bad connection. Now everything seems tight. Try it again. KE4 GSK, KE4 GSK. Okay, I'm sorry I was off. The reading was off the screen. You couldn't see it. But it was 3.7 for a while, and then it dropped down to 2.8. So I think what I'm seeing is that possibly when I transmit for more than a couple of seconds, the SWR comes back down significantly. Comes down from 3.7 to 2.8. That's interesting. What does it mean? I don't have a clue. I don't know if it's the radio, the antenna, or the meter. I don't know. Let's do this. All right. Since I have totally confused both myself and you about which antenna, we're going to go with the dummy load. So I'm going to take this off of here. And I'm going to go with, this is the dummy load that's supplied with the meter. I'm going to put that on here. The dummy load for the dummy operator. Now, this should be in a perfect impedance, and it should give the best case for SWR, which would be 1.0, and the maximum power, since the SWR is 1.0. We're going to try it. I need another color pen. Okay, I'm just going to call this dummy. And we are on a 2 meter band, and we're on SWR, so I'm going to transmit KE4 GSK testing, KE4 GSK test 1.0. That's what it should be. So the SWR is 1.0 at, this is 2 meters, and then I'll do 70 centimeters. And then we're going to check the power while we're here. Here we go. KE4 GSK, KE4 GSK, 4.6. 4.6 with the dummy low. Now we were getting 6.1 with those other antennas. I'm not sure which one, but we were getting that. Okay, now let's change back to Honeywell, which is 443.05, and we're going to test it at 70 centimeters with the dummy load, and this is power. KE4 GSK, KE4 GSK, 4.6, no change. Again, dummy load, so there shouldn't be any variance with the dummy load. The dummy load theoretically is a 1.0 or close SWR for a broad band of frequencies. All right, now let's see what that was the power. Now we're going to go to SWR, and that'll be the last test because I've confused myself, and I'm sure I've confused you at this point. Okay, here we go. KE4 GSK, KE4 GSK, 1.0. That's right. All right, we're going to put the radios and antennas away and turn it off and try to summarize, try to see if we can get anything out of this method. See if I can hold this halfway steady. So the UV5R, the original UV5R, this is what we got on the 2 meter band with its stock antenna. Before I get the antennas all confused, we got an SWR of 1.06. Excellent. We got a power out of 5.8. Excellent. When we use the knockoff antenna, this guy here, which, let me turn this off. I just realized I left the meter on. Let's turn the meter off. Okay. This antenna here, which is a knockoff of a good antenna, and my field testing showed this was not a very good antenna. The field testing was trying to reach local repeaters, and which antennas could and which antennas couldn't, and this one did terrible. Anyway, so with that antenna, knockoff antenna, the SWR was 1.84. That's okay, and the power was 4.8. That's okay. So it in this testing it did okay. That was at 2 meters. At 70 centimeters, the knockoff SWR was 5.8. That's terrible, and the power was down to 3.9. And that kind of correlates that the SWR was high, the power out to the antenna was lower. And then with the stock antenna that came with the radio, at that 70 centimeters, the SWR was 2.7, barely good, barely marginally good in almost, you want to be less than 3. You really want less than 2. And the power out was only 3.9 again. That was at 70 centimeters. So with either of these two antennas and that radio at 70 centimeters, the power out was much lower, which I think is the norm for that radio. Now we went to the UV-5R5, which is supposed to have 6 watts out. That's supposed to be the difference. At 70 centimeters with the stock 5R antenna for this radio, it had an SWR. One time I measured 3.7, then I measured 2.8. It seemed to vary depending on how long I transmitted. I didn't do a power measurement. or at least I didn't write it down. With a stock antenna, now I assumed at that point I was using the antenna that came with the UV5R5. It got an SWR 2.7, which in my previous show, these numbers were about the same when I was testing it with the UV5R. I hope I confused you less at this point. The power out was 6.1, which it's above 6. That's what it was rated at, as above 6. That was at 70 centimeters. Then at 2 meters with the stock antenna, I assume it was its stock antenna I used up here, the SWR jumped up to 3.7. Now notice I had a 3.7 here initially. So I'm guessing it may have been 3.7 and this was 3.7. I don't know. And the power out was 6.1, didn't change. That was at 2 meters versus 70 centimeters. Then back at 2 meters with a dummy load, the SWR was 1.0, which a dummy load should give you, and the power out was only 4.6. At 70 centimeters with the dummy load, the SWR was 1, the power output was 4.6, consistent. Do we have a conclusion here of any kind? I've used 30 minutes of recording, and I don't know if I reached any conclusion. I'm going to let you decide what your conclusion is. I'm going to just kind of real quickly make some kind of observation. Again, I'm no expert. As you saw from my testing, I'm no expert. The knockoff antenna wasn't as good, which is my previous field testing showed that it wasn't as good. The power out of the UV-5R varied depending on frequency. It was much better at 2 meters than 70 centimeters, much better. And then the UV-5R5, which was supposed to have more power out, it did. And then I had that little fluctuation on SWR depending on how long I held down the transmit button. It varied from 3.7 to 2.8. I'm going to stop there. I apologize if I just confused you more. I'll do some more testing offline and try to, do a whole series of testing. Maybe spend a couple of hours testing. I'll set up a matrix of how I'm going to test which radio, when, what the exact frequency is. Some more precise testing, I'll call it, and then I'll do a show later on giving you the results of that. Again, I apologize for the confusion, but if you enjoyed this show, at least a little bit, please give me a thumbs up. Thanks for watching, and I've got some new radios I'm going to test. I just got them in yesterday. I'm going to test. And so they're coming up, and we'll get away from my random meter testing. Have a great day. Bye-bye.